Hey guys, how are all of you doing today? And I agree that we are a little bit slow now in coming up with TikToks, uh, and that is because we are looking for some remarkable people with whom we can bring certain insights for you that you would relish. So, folks, today we have with us Abhishek Ranjan. He's head of engineering at Apna Jobs, and he has spent quite a few years in leading high impact engineering teams and navigating the demands of modern technology. So, over here, I would like to invite Abhishek. Hi,
Hey,
Abhishek.
hey Romesh, thank you so much for the very warm introduction. Uh, yeah, looking forward to talking to you and sharing what little I know.
Great, great. Thanks a lot, Abhishek. And folks, in this episode, we'll be diving into how the job market is changing for developers in 2025. And it has actually been on a roller coaster journey since 2020, post COVID. And nowadays, let's it's the basic question that is on everybody's mind, that what is it going to take to stay ahead in these testing times. So Abhishek over here will share his experiences in his journey, and how, being at Apna Jobs, he has been able to see the transformation that the industry is going in. So, whether you are an engineering leader or a mid level developer or just starting out, I hope that this conversation will help you understand what's changing and what's expected and what opportunities lie ahead. So, thanks a lot again, Abhishek, for making this possible for all our viewers.
Yeah, thank you, Romesh. Thank you for having me here. Always a pleasure.
Uh, So, let's begin with the most easiest part. Let's just let everybody know who is Abhishek, how has his journey shaped him from some Abhishek Ranjan to Abhishek Ranjan at Apna Jobs.
Yeah, so hey, I'm Abhishek. I started as an engineer. Now it seems a while back in 2010. Started my career. Now it's 15 years, so it seems a long time. Seen a bunch of these changes in the industry. I've worked with, 15 years with different various organizations, ran my own startup as well. Uh, Sold it, moved on to the next roles in my career, and then 3 years ago, I landed it here at Apna. Started with the monetization journey. We were a fast startup. We wanted to move fast, uh, and a very high growth startup, one of the fastest unicorns in India, at the fastest at that point of time. So, and since then, the journey has been great. I mean, we have built fast. We have reached almost 60 million users today, and I've had the opportunity to sort of build out the engineering team, uh, build out the engineering culture here, and I've seen some great engineers work here, come out of our Apna uh, alumni, and people have gone on to build their own things, and some of them are here still with us. So super proud and super happy with what I've done here, and even in whatever orgs I've worked at. So yeah, I mean that's sort of.
And that's an interesting journey. Like, you have also built your own startup and then you've scaled another company. So, and given your experience of more than 15 years, if we would say, like, over the last decade, what is the biggest mindset shift that you've seen in how engineers are approaching their career?
I think the engineers of today are a lot more aware when they're starting out, in terms of how they want their career to shape. When we were starting out, like when I was starting out, I mean, very few of us had any clue of how a corporate life looks like, right? I mean, when we were finishing college in 2010, I don't think any of us or a lot of us had any idea about uh, what kind of work culture would it be, uh, how do you approach a corporate life, uh, what uh, what are you looking for, uh, how your career will grow. People would say all kinds of things and you would listen to them, you would move on. I think the engineer of today is a lot more aware, just because of social media, a lot of platforms like dev bytes and others. People have a lot more exposure into what they're looking for. Engineers have also evolved in terms of their mindset of being uh, followers to like being pioneers in a lot of aspects. When we started out, I mean, there was a common thing people used to say: good things happen in the US, in India we do whatever is left. I think that has changed. I mean, significantly, there are companies, including company like ours at Apna, where we have built capabilities which are built from India and then being used across the world. So the engineer is more confident today. He's also a lot more aware about what he wants with his career. They understand business problems more innately, and they want to understand it better. So that has been, I think, the biggest mindset shift in terms of how engineering or dev community has evolved.
I, I kind of, I would say a lot much like I'm kind of in sync with you on that. That everybody is more aware these days.
Yeah.
Uh, so if one has to ask like what qualities are setting apart the engineers who are growing, who are thriving in modern landscape, what would your pick be, or how
So
would
yeah, I
you?
mean, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
So what would your pick be, or how would you approach it?
So if I have to pick one quality, I think, like I would say, old thing, right? Change is the only constant. I think that's true for computer science or software engineers more than it's true for any other field. Fundamentally, I think the world is changing very fast. Today, the engineers who can adapt quickly, I think, will always be more valuable than somebody who cannot. uh, in the last, even if we just look at the last 3 or 4 years, I think every day you can see new advancement in terms of AI, in terms of some other software or framework coming in. uh, People who are able to adapt to these things, people who adopt a lot of these technologies and able to work with this, those will be the people who survive. uh, Overall, I think just being able to understand business problems innately and get output or get out the product quickly, I think those are the two things that will set some engineers apart from others.
So interestingly enough, like you brought this point about the changing software paradigms,
Yep.
right? And I'm sure you would also be aware about Andre's
Yep.
talk that was released. Andre from Y Combinator, YC
Yep.
Startup School, right?
Yep. Yep.
So he was talking about uh, software 1.0, 2.0, and now 3.0.
Hmm.
So, what are your thoughts around the same?
So I agree with him. I mean, not with everything, but a lot of it. I think software 3.0, as is called it, or vibe coding, as a lot of people have called it, I think that's generally has been the evolution of software. I think the role of developers will also change based on that, because today, like getting a LLMs and other things have made getting a POC out very easy, right? I mean, you can get out a minimum viable product out in the
Right.
market, which which has led to proliferation of products, right? Everybody can now build a product. uh, and where a developer needs to stand out here is, first of all, of course, to understand what to build. I mean, because everybody thinks there's something that can be built, but does it really solve a problem? It's the same old multivitamin versus painkiller debate. Whether does it really solve a problem? And the second thing that they need to focus on is, once the product is out, how do you scale it? How do you even understand what has been coded? Can you make the changes and not make it convoluted as it grows in scale? So getting the first version is easy, but I think uh, being in the role of a conductor, I would say, will become more and more important for developers, because even having the ability to understand what AI has spit out in terms of code or UI, or your services, being able to understand that and then correct it, I think that will be more important, because it will always give you some solution, right? I mean, you can ask it any question, there will always be some solution. uh, the idea is whether you can, as a developer, figure out, okay, this does not seem the right solution, let me instruct it to do something else. How quickly can you do that? I think that will be important. It's like, it's another step, right? When we were like starting out, Google was slightly new. It was like 4 years, 5 years, getting better, and thereabout when we were in college. And at that point of time, Googling was a skill. Like, some people moved ahead because they could Google better, they could figure out the right questions on Stack Overflow just quicker than somebody else.
Right.
And those were the people that moved faster. So that will be the journey here as well.
Right. So at this point, Akash has asked a very pertinent question, I guess. Like, is English becoming more and more important in the field of IT programming, so to speak? Uh, as in, like when we were talking, like when software 3.0 was being explained,
It
it
is
was more about that English is not has now become the de facto, although due to the nature of his nationality,
yeah,
he ended up saying that it's a native language.
true.
uh, but at the end of the day, English is becoming a de facto, like, and the age-old proverb, like when you write code, it is not really code; it should be prose.
Yep.
That's when your code, your code is good. So, what is your take on Akash's question?
Uh, I think so. English is really important, and it is becoming more important. In all honesty, as we are moving into a world where there are a lot of LLMs, you need to like be able to prompt properly. I think if you understand English, you understand language, and if you know how to communicate, I think that will become more and more important on the programming side as well. Without programming, also, just generally, I think, especially if you're working with global companies or global teams which are spread across the world, like you might have people in US, England, Japan, uh, very similar to what I had in my first stint. I mean, English becomes sort of your de facto language of communicating. So that helps. I mean, it also helps you communicate with a lot of different stakeholders, which can be your peers, customers, counterparts, clients, anything, right? I mean, so English becomes important as you grow. Uh, Apart from that, I would also say that for programming, I mean, there are now a lot of LLMs coming. We are also working on things around that, where we enable Indic languages or multilingual languages like Hindi, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam. A lot of these languages we enable on our platform. Uh, so it will start helping people to learn more and start using this platform better, uh, and sort of makes communication also easier, because you can ask questions, translate it, make all your emails look good, and your communications look crazy. So that can also happen, right? But I think English still is a fundamental building block of what you want to do in your career. Just as of now is the language of the world, so it helps.
Right. So yeah, in a way, yes, that's where it will be, I guess. Um, so if we are talking about English as one of the real world challenges that a developer should be focused about,
Hmm.
so that's probably one of the challenges, right? So what other challenges do you think teams in modern day are facing whenever we are talking about developer teams they are facing on in this changing landscape of development?
I would say that a couple of things. I mean, there are some problems or challenges that we've had uh, as a developer community over the last few years. Uh, there is today, I think you can clearly demarcate before COVID and after COVID. Like it's pretty much like that, right? So before COVID, I mean, there was a certain way of working, and everybody was sure how offices work or how teams work. When we hit COVID, a lot of us had to rethink how work happens. I mean, everything was remote. People were scared, and including us, right? I mean, we were all scared to get out and do anything. And how are you setting up teams? How are you setting up camaraderie? A lot of these things changed in terms of COVID. Now, post COVID, a lot of offices have moved back to work, either hybrid or fully, and a lot of these things have started happening. Now, I think it has become a big challenge for a lot of people in both the sides, right? I mean, companies want everybody to be at work. People, of course, have their uh, life set up in a certain way with remote work, so they want to keep following that. How do you navigate this? How do you create an atmosphere where both the parties are happy? How do you create like this situation where business is not impacted because of a lot of these things? I think that has been one of the challenge. I mean, getting people coordination has been definitely one of the challenge in the post COVID world. I mean, how do you coordinate, move more real time, move faster? The second challenge, I think, has been primarily on the developer upskilling part as well. LLMs have generally been fast. Like, I don't think, at least in our lifetime, we have seen anything that has moved this fast in terms of releases and innovations and the new versions. Every day, like, I don't think anybody can keep track of which model is releasing every day, right? I mean, you all hear about the ones which which are coming up, but you don't know which one is where. What There are so many benchmarks. I think somebody asked, in case of LLMs, are benchmarks overrated? Yes, probably they are. Like everybody is ahead on the benchmark they want to be ahead on. So yeah, I mean, and developers have had a challenge because suddenly within a month or 2 months you had to sort of switch from your normal way of working, and we have also seen that with a lot of our developers, a lot of people that uh, we talk to. We have also seen uh, people struggling, even senior engineers struggling to see how this fits in, right? Because there's also a place where you feel scared, right? I mean, when calculator game, mathematicians were scared, LLMs have come, you are also scared, right? Everybody feels, what's our use if this does the whole thing? So there's also that. And then just the general ability to sort of adapt it to your work stream. I think that has been a challenge. Slowly, I mean, that is getting better and better. Developers are also adopting. And if you actually look at the world, developers have actually adopted the most LLM products. Like all the products which are at high ARR, Cursor, Lovable, Bold, everything is a developer developer first product. So for all the resistance, we ended up adopting a lot of it. So
Right. I mean, if you just think about it from like anecdotally, the moment ChatGPT or OpenAI's APIs were released, somebody came up with baby AGI.
Yeah.
So that was like one of the most crudest forms of agents in a certain sense. So yeah, developers are those breed of
Yeah.
people.
We will adopt.
They are fascinated by the most shiny new thing on the block,
They are also
and
very efficient, I would say.
this is how the cycle of innovation is continuously progressing. Um, So in this AI world, I mean, almost everybody is becoming an AI developer or is feeling the need to become an AI, at least enabled developer, so to speak. So, what are your thoughts around it? How are people thinking about AI in their jobs, or developers thinking about AI in their jobs, to be specific?
So I think everybody has to become a AI enabled developer. Personally, I mean, I've generally been an early adopter myself. I've had a lot of people in my team adopt uh, these things early. And what we have seen is, even on a personal level, I think it has increased my productivity manifold, right? Maybe 3x, 4x. I can do a lot more than I was able to do earlier. And I have seen that with other developers, eh, even senior, junior, everybody who has actually adopted it. We have had some wonderful innovations, at least in our team, in our current team, where one of our developers, name is Manas, who created something where like you put Figma, it takes the design, does a lot of his work for him, and everybody's happy, right? You deliver fast, he's happy, we are also happy, everybody's happy, right? So a lot of these innovations some developers do, and now we have adopted it across the org. Multiple people are using it, which has significantly impacted how we do our UI. Similarly, I mean, we have had things that we want to do on backend. I think one of the core skills beyond being AI enabled will be to not be AI dependent. Like uh, that's a
That,
thing that I think developers who become over dependent on AI, I think they'll have a hard time as products scale, because products are coming to the market. But let's say when you hit 10 million, 20 million, 30 million users, something breaks in production, you don't know what the code is. Neither will GPT, because it's your context, your thing. You can't really load it on your machine. What will you do then? I think the ability to understand quickly what AI has written for you, that will be really important for developers, and they will have to start adopting that. They'll have to figure out where they need to look at more. For example, a lot of scaffolding things. If you're setting up the project, setting up auth, uh, logging, a bunch of these small things, it'll do a great job on, right? It'll do the best practices, clean code, everything will be there. But there will be some weird use case in your company where, if this is a super user, you do this, something else, you do this. That's where you will have to apply uh, intelligence. So being AI enabled will be good, but not super dependent where you cannot do anything if AI is not there. That I think don't think is the right path. So your role becomes less of a typist and more of a conductor in terms of how
right.
you're conducting AI to do the work.
and and there is another aspect of it also, I believe. I oftentimes find myself brainstorming with AI about the most obscure problems that I am running into, figuring out the right article or the right documentation for which is extremely difficult, or things like race conditions, getting a depth about my own code.
Hmm.
Uh, so that is another aspect, I believe, wherein it becomes your brainstorming tool.
Yeah, it yes does.
And I believe that's another aspect of AI enabled developer that one should really be, as a person in these times, looking for job or looking for progress in their own career. This is one other skill that people now start need to develop, a lot like what they were doing when Google first came out.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. In fact, one of the things that at least I've noticed with a lot of our developers and people and everybody is that earlier, like, there were some problems that you, if you're not solved, it will take you a lot of time to solve because you have to do a lot of research, and sometimes the research material will not be available or enough. Like for example, if you wanted to build a system which can send notifications to 30, 40 million people, like, you would hit some challenges, right? I mean, because you wouldn't know a lot of these things, you'll have to read a lot, go through a lot, figure out what is the right context for you. I think that also has like, problems like this now have become more democratized, because with deep research, one of the LLMs, you'll be able to figure out faster of how you want to approach the problem. Like you said, the brainstorming piece of it. I think you always have somebody you can ask questions, and generally they'll give you some answers, mostly good answer. So
Right.
yeah, I think that is very key. I think very important point.
Right. And it also trains one more important skill, I believe.
Mhm.
LLMs tend to bluff.
Yeah,
Listen.
yeah,
So you start becoming a bullshit detector.
yeah. That's a very important skill generally in, in life.
Great. In the same breath, like what Gurmeet is asking,
Mhm.
that when AI enabled coding is becoming so much better in a certain sense, and entry level roles are going down by over 50%. I don't know where that number has come from. I'm not aware, but let's just say that they are going down.
Hmm.
So, what all things do you think recent grads, should be looking at?
So I'll start with what we look for in new grads. I mean, we have had new grads. I mean, entry level roles are down, but generally we have had great experience with a lot of our new grads. Uh, I think just as companies, every company understands that new grads bring in fresh energy and sort of a new way of thinking without a lot of baggage. So that of course helps. The more freedom you have in terms of your thinking of being able to bring in new ideas to the table, I think that helps. But that's on the behavioral side. On the hard skill side, I think just having the ability to do multiple things, that is very important. So I honestly believe very strongly for new grads. I mean, the age of uh, backend developer, front end developer, DevOps engineer. I mean, that those roles are over. Like today, you should be able to, and since you get also get a lot of help, right? I mean, from tools and everything else, you should be able to do multiple things. Uh, you should be able to do so if you get uh, a product where you have to do some front end, some back end, maybe deploy it. You should be able to do it horizontally. So that is one type of developer, young developer that people are looking at, which fundamentally is able to do work of two people, right? And there, those people will always be valuable. Two people, three people, four people, whatever, like more than one. I think those people will fundamentally always be valuable. They'll also have a great growth path in terms of how software will be evolving, the software 3.0 age. They'll also have a great growth path because it might very well happen that a lot of younger engineers will have a head start compared to anybody else who has already been, people like us, like who've been there for a long time. I think these guys generally should have uh, a lot of head start in terms of uh, being the next sort of batch of software engineers who are developing different products. So I think there will be two skills. Either you are hardcore in terms of the model training and figuring out the new models, figuring out new methods like chain of thought, what will be next after that. Uh, or on the application side, you're horizontal and you are able to do multiple things and you're able to stitch things quickly together. I think these are two skills that will always be uh, very highly rated. So somebody I think asked that question as well, that uh, like which is more important, model training or prompt. I think both are important. I mean, you have to be on either side of the spectrum. You cannot be anywhere in the middle where you are not doing either. Like You'd say,
Right.
I don't know how to write prompts, and then you say, I don't know how to train model. I don't think that's the place where it will work anymore. So yeah, I mean, I think upskilling and sort of being able to do multiple things, that will be really helpful in terms of developers getting hired. Today, when we hire people, we also see a lot of young engineers. They come up with full-blown projects or apps that they've built. They build out. That sort of also builds our confidence in hiring them. We are not really hiring somebody who's just fresh out of college. He or she knows uh, how everything is built. She's put something together, or he has put something together, so we can then just groom them, and they'll still be like a super developer for us.
Right. I kind of agree. And in a way, when you're taking a new step, we are just getting out of the college, you might know a lot of different things.
Yep.
But at that same time, there are a lot of real world challenges that people don't know.
Yep.
For you to promote confidence in others
Hmm.
as a fresh developer, fresh grad,
Hmm.
you need to show that you are able to take care of things in building so that you can be groomed, like you
Yep.
rightly said a couple of
Yes. Mhm.
sentences back,
Mhm.
that you should be grooming ready. You should know your theory, your basics, your fundamentals should be strong enough, which will ease the work for any company to assimilate you in their own system.
Hmm.
So I believe, I mean, and it's also a kind of a take that I have on Gokul's question.
Mhm.
Like when he's asking that, despite he has 3+ years of experience in software development
Mhm.
without having a degree in computer science. So that all that proves is, in my opinion, that you are smart
Yep.
and you are adaptive, and you have that hunger to work, which is why you are learning the basics
Yep.
uh, alongside of computer science. So those kind of things is what, if you had computer science degree at the beginning of your career, you would have probably had a jump start.
Yep.
Uh, but that does not mean that you cannot reach there. You have to now start putting in more effort, and it takes you on a different career path.
Yes.
So that's pretty much what my 2 cents were about it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I agree with you. I don't think degrees, a computer science degree per se. I mean, you should have some degree probably, because every company has their own rules. But even without that, today I think there are enough opportunities for you. I think beyond the point of time, what particular degree you have, I don't think it matters too much. I mean, your work will speak for itself. The kind of work that you've put in, the understanding that you've built, the products that you've built or delivered, I think those will be more important. Uh, over like, and I've been hiring for a long time now. I don't think I've ever looked at somebody having a computer science degree. I think that is important when you're hiring fresh grads, because you expect people to know some things. It's easier to train them on certain things, but uh, and that's also like debatable in a lot of
Yeah,
aspects.
that's
So,
also debatable.
but beyond that, I don't think anybody is looking at degrees too much.
Right. It's that kind of a problem where you are meeting somebody for the first time. You don't know ABC about that person. How do you build trust? How do you build confidence?
Yes.
So what you do go for is, these are the set standards. Let's check each and every one of them, and probably will be having this much of.
Yeah, because it's difficult to have a conversation with thousands of people, so you filter who.
You have to filter.
But
So yeah, but eventually, once you have had a certain experience, you have put yourself out there. It starts building up.
yep.
Um, so another question here, Lakshmi has asked, like, how can the communication between developers and testers make a project better? A little bit out of the blue, but
But it's
Probably.
also an age-old question. I think everybody has asked it at some point of time in their lives. But yeah,
I
I
guess
mean,
everybody is trying to answer it even now.
yeah, yeah. But like developers and testers, communication between the two has to be there. I think that definitely makes the overall uh, product better. One of the things that we have done here and everywhere that I've worked, I think one of the uh, most important things is to make both of them equal owners of the outcome. And like once you create a more hostile environment where tester is trying to do something and developer is trying to do something, I think there is a chance that there will be friction and things will slow down, people will blame each other. I think evolving beyond that uh, work culture is important when nobody's blaming each other. That's something that we very strictly follow at Apna. Like you either fail succeed as a team or fail as a team. Not because it's like cricket, right? I mean, if you lose, you lose. You cannot say that the bowler today did not do well or the batsman did not do well. Like you do say things like that. Some captains do, but generally that's you either succeed as a team or fail as a team. I think once you establish that ground rule, uh, where even if there is a bug that creeps into production, the developer is not saying why the tester has not tested it, and even if the product quality has missed some glaring issues, the tester is not saying, okay, who's the developer, why are they doing it. I think once you create that sort of atmosphere, I think just generally it works a lot better and communications happen a lot better. And QAs generally are the gatekeepers, so they should be able to uh, have say in what goes out, what doesn't. So yeah, Lakshmi, so that's more or less.
Right. Great. So another question is here by Jitendra is like, what are the most effective ways employees can leverage AI to improve recruitment process?
Yeah, I mean, falls right in the in what we do. So so
I
thank you.
agree.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, today I think AI is there are a lot of things that we are doing with AI in terms of not just us. A lot of companies have started adding AI in the mix. One of the things is assessment. So AI automates a lot of the assessment process, screening, whether it's bulk hiring or even specialized ones. It helps. It also helps you shortlist the right set of people. Matching becomes a lot smarter. Our matching has resume matching for a lot of companies has always been keyword based. That's where a lot of businesses were built, where you would make resumes, they would just put keywords irrespective of whether you know that or not, and overall semantic context is lost of the resume of actually what you've done. I think that matching is improved. So the old way of making resumes might also not work anymore, because more and more tools are starting to give you AI insights into what the person has done. Assessment is another one. The Even on the prep side, I mean, we also have a tool for interview prep. It's a tool that's available and people can prepare for interview. There again, AI is very useful. So both on the recruitment side, on preparing for interviews, it has become very useful. Not just in the process of hiring or the assessment part of it. Even later in the life cycle, there are things like payroll and other things where AI is taking up, and a bunch of things that we do for with our customers that helps them in getting the right candidates, reaching out to them, assessing them, all that happens. And on the candidate side, I think preparation has become will become a lot easier. Like even 3 years ago, if you had to prepare, let's say for a software engineer interview, HD2 at Amazon, like it was some effort to actually get that right. Or you could enroll for some very expensive courses, but not everybody can afford them. So, but it was a long cycle, right? I mean, you had to find out the right resources, then figure out whether you have found out the right resources. Internet is filled with too many resources, and then whether it's relevant for you. I think those are the things that we have tried to solve on our side as well with our interview prep, and we are improving it further and further so that it can actually help students or people appearing for interviews solve it better. On the recruitment side, yeah, I mean, bunch of these use cases. I think every aspect of the recruitment workflow, from sourcing of candidates to releasing their offer letter, I think there is a lot of AI that's already coming in and a lot of automation.
Right. So within the context of recruitment
Mhm.
with AI, within the paradigm of AI, so to speak, like, how has your approach changed for hiring candidates, given that almost if you'll take an interview, a candidate can easily use ChatGPT to
Yeah,
answer in depth, like give you in-depth answers, or if you send out a problem statement, candidates can use generate code using
yeah,
AI.
yeah.
So, how has your approach changing about hiring in modern day and time?
So, couple of things. And somebody is asking a question that there's too much cheating in
Yeah,
workplace. It really
specifically,
is.
it was
Yeah,
more of a comment. I believe that there
yeah,
is too much cheating.
yeah,
I
there
believe
is.
people have also started to kind of feel overwhelmed that, man, how do I select someone?
Yeah, yeah, that has been a challenge. I think just generally across the board. What we have tried to do is we have mixed our interview process a little. Now we generally try and do at least face to face discussion, because that allows you to actually understand the person without the intervention of extra intelligence or enablement they have on their side. So that of course helps. The more I think the era of face to face interviews will be back sooner than later. So that I think one of the other things that we've also done for a lot of our young hires, and at least for some of our teams, is we have moved from the traditional, not for all roles, some roles you still need them. So, but moved from the traditional data structure, system design, HLD, LLD type of round to a more open round where you actually give them a problem, let them solve it, use all the tools that you have at your disposal. Uh, but then what we do is we also take time to understand the solution. It is a time taking process, and then you ask the question whether the person who has done it has understood the solution that they built or not. Can they make changes to the solution if they're asked to do on the fly or not? uh, those are things that we are now started assessing for a lot of initial
Live coding round sessions in a certain sense.
entry level engineers. Yeah, I mean, and also it allows us to think there. So we also give them a more abstract problem, so they also think through a little bit of how they want to build it. Like, you can tell people like build an app like this, or let's say build a edtech app, or any of these random problems, how they're thinking through the problem. If they are thinking through the experiences, like if the front end developer, are they thinking more through the experiences or not, or they are just doing what GPT is giving them, the same blue color with with the gradient. Like, can you think beyond that? I think on front end that might be, because otherwise every app will start looking the same beyond a point of time. And for back end again, there are markers that you look at and you understand, okay, these people have actually understood and then solved from here. So I think, yeah, those are some things we have started assessing that has helped us a little bit. For more senior roles, we still stick to a more uh, traditional approach. Uh, but I think it will start changing, like, for everybody. Also on the tools side, I mean, a lot of tools are now coming up which are heavily proctored. We also have some things like that in house, so which enable proctoring. But yeah, it's a place of trust deficit you start with. So
Right, right. And that happen that is required in a different kind of setup in a certain sense, where there is
yeah,
mass recruitment setup of
yeah,
sorts. Uh, so, but so when you say that you are kind of assessing a candidate based on how they're approaching the problem,
yeah.
right? Um, What exactly, like, can you give some sort of examples for our viewers here? Like, what sort of evaluation would you do for an entry level graduate?
Yeah, so let me give you an example. So let's say one of the questions that we do ask a lot of our young engineers is to make, like, let's say you make a ed tech app where people can come in, learn multiple skills. They can see some short videos, they can learn a few things from there, uh, and create it in a way so that people are hooked onto it. It's more like a pocket FM of learning. Let's say, for example, with videos, content, audio, everything there, right? So this is the abstract sort of problem that we give. Now, based on what people primary skill is, backend or front end, they come back with a solution. And we generally ask them to sort of build out uh, as much as you can. You can't build the whole thing, but build whatever you can. One of our ways to assess is, even with using AI within, let's say, the given time frame of 2 days, 3 days, have you been able to build something? Like, if you are, even with using AI, if you can't put out a running code, then it's a strict no, I think, at that point of time. If you build something, our next is to actually understand and ask you, why have you making taken these choices? Like, for example, if somebody has said that for our initial feed we will use technology like, let's say, Elasticsearch, or we'll maybe use a vector database or some random thing like that, it's important for us to understand whether they know also what these technologies are, because or
Right.
GPT has spit out something and they have just pasted it in the code also. Like, it will spit out
Right.
code. Why do you choose a vector database? Why have you chosen this versus something else? I think even having the ability to ask these questions to the LLM, which can be GPT, Claude, or whatever, Gemini, even having the ability to do this is important, right? Whether you ask the question, right, that shows that you're curious and you want to understand. The third thing that we check there again is, we want them to add a couple of additional features, and we see if they can add it with using GPT or without using a GPT. That we leave to them. So if they can do that, generally we give out a problem which GPT will not spit out the right answer for. Like, that with sort of running
Like,
our,
setting you to fail, so now you've got to find a way to succeed.
you figure out, like, if this is happened, what do you do next, right? I mean, can you think through that? Even if the person is able to think through it, forget writing actual running code. If they're able to think through it, I think that's a yes for us. And then we also check for attitude, whether they are ready to uh, be agile, like, and also adjust to chaos, like, of the world, right? I mean, just generally, there's a lot of chaos in terms of new products and everything else. So are people, is somebody ready to adapt to that? I think that's important, especially for any startup, right? Just for us, anybody else, I think that's a key thing. And the
Correct.
last thing, I think, which is highly underrated, which I missed, for any role, I think it's important, is, will you be good to work with? I think that's a very underrated thing that most people like miss. Like, if people like you, like, they will overlook a lot of things.
Exactly. Essentially, the idea of being a culture fit,
Yep.
right? And that's something that used to be such an important thing in pre-COVID era.
Yeah.
However, post-COVID, the culture itself has, I don't know what has it morphed into when you are trying to recruit people you never meet, and probably they go, or half of your team has stayed remote, and you have
Yeah.
never had a chance to meet.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a, so, I mean, something that I think, especially for people who have never worked in an office setup, I think it's always good to sort of actually work with some people around you. I like, I would never sort of trade the first 3 years of my work experience. Like, made great friends, did a lot of other things. Work is where work is, but you
Right.
also do a lot of other things. It's just, it's part of life that you should
So,
have.
although a little bit controversial question,
Yeah, yeah. Go
what
ahead.
do you support? Remote, hybrid, or in office?
So,
Just one choice. You get only one choice.
so general hybrid approach, I think, works for most people. I think you might need some time to think, some time to work. But I think in office collaboration is really important. You need to be able to, because if you're not in office collaborating, I think it also hits. Uh, you don't understand the business a lot. I mean, a lot of these things become better once you're in person. But I think just generally, I think a more flexible approach where it does not become a traditional 9 to 5. I think that's where uh, my preference is. Like, once developers like what they're doing, they will do whatever it takes, right? I mean, whether it is half an hour in a day or 22 hours in a day, they will take care of it. And as leaders also, I think we should allow that. That's something that I've been very vocal about with my team, is just generally they don't really care. Like, today you might not work, it's okay. Like, you'll take care tomorrow, right? I mean, you let them be, and generally the best set of people take care of what they're supposed to.
Absolutely. And I also kind of believe the same thing. Like, there would be, there are benefits to, working remotely,
Mm.
definitely. However, when people are not sitting around, the lateral learning is missing.
Yep.
And the lateral learning is what makes a developer a good developer, because you don't really have time during a work week, you don't really have time to learn everything on your own.
Correct.
And you got to absorb knowledge or assimilate it from some other means, wherein somebody else is working on another problem, they choose a particular structure, and
Mm.
you get to be a part of that discussion.
Yeah. Sometimes you just overhear things and jump in, like that.
Right.
Somebody do it
And
all the time.
and I mean, when I'm talking about a person from the perspective of the other team also, sometimes they need a fresh out of the box
Yeah, yeah.
thinking,
Yes.
and they need that junior dev coming in and asking the question you always assume to be true.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. Yeah, yeah. That is the best fun part, right? Of being able to work together. Like the debates, the disagreements, why a particular architecture choice. I mean, if you're not
Exactly.
doing that, then like
Then you're
half of the
not
fun.
going at a faster pace or exponential pace.
And you're also not like, you're not also having a lot of fun, right? So
That's true.
that's been one of the most fun part.
Right. So, so before we begin closing, let's just answer one last question that Mehak has asked. Like, can vibe coding using LLMs scale beyond quick experiments? What's your take?
Not today. uh Pure vibe coding, like if you're just talking about pure vibe coding, I don't think it can scale. Like, for example, if I put maybe my son who's 3 years old, he starts vibe coding, or even somebody who doesn't know tech, they start vibe coding, they can put out something, but they will not be able to scale it beyond a MVP or a quick experiment. But uh, but that age is not far. Maybe within, like, given this, it might just happen to tomorrow, who knows. Somebody else will come up with some model, deep code or something. But but
You
but
would, I like the
generally,
name.
but generally, I think in a matter of maybe a year, I mean, a lot of this will become better and better. So, for example, when first version of this coding assistants came, or when you started doing coding in 3.5, GPT 3.5, from there to today, it's much much better. Gemini 2.5 is super. Claude 4 is also nice. Something else will come tomorrow, which will be nicer. So those are things that will happen. There will be still space, a lot of space for developers to actually put in what is important, right? I mean, from their perspective, which LLMs will not be able to think of. One of the challenges of LLMs is that it can do what is available on internet at this point, at least. And honestly, I believe with this architecture, it will only, the large language model architecture, it can only go there. Like, until you switch the architecture, maybe it can start thinking. But today it will know what it knows. Where you can think creatively of things that have not happened before, I think that will be key. Like for example, there are a lot of things that we have recently done in terms of how people talk in the voice agent interaction and all, which the agent is not able to suggest. I mean, we've asked GPT the question a lot of times, or other providers as well. It's not able to suggest beyond a point of time. It suggests what's there on the internet, which is not there because it's a newer technology itself. So it's stuck in a loop. Here is where you have to become creative. I think those are places where developers will still shine.
Absolutely. And just to add to the perspective there, using like the vibe coding is something that can help you build modules.
Yep.
It will not help you build your application, like you
Correct.
were
Yeah.
also saying in a certain sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. Yes.
Right. So just use vibe coding will like use vibe coding to build those small modules and do your own coding, so to speak, so that you are able to leverage the speed that LLMs are giving you.
Yep.
So, so with that, Abhishek, I guess it's almost about time, and
Yeah.
we should begin closing. So, would you like to leave a message with all the young developers who come to our channel
Yep.
watching this right now?
Yeah, my message is like one of the things that I would want to say is that I don't think there is any need of being scared. I don't think there is any fear of anybody getting replaced. Of course, the nature of jobs will change, the kind of work that you do will change, but it has always kept changing, just at a slower pace. When computers came, PCs came, mainframe went away, internet came, bunch of other older systems went away. In the e-commerce age, other things changed, and today with the age of AI, the role of developer will change, but they will become more and more important. You will actually, a lot of us will become developers more than coders, or typists will start becoming more developers than before. So I think just having that optimism is very important for young developers, and sort of having the ability to adapt, move fast. Those will be some of the key factors or skills of the future. So overall, I don't think there is anything wrong today with the overall ecosystem. I think there are enough opportunities. Just that uh, you will have to fit in and skill yourself to get to that opportunity.
Thanks a lot, Abhishek. That's something I guess every developer can actually take along with them, no matter whether they are junior or senior, because practically for the age of AI, everybody is a junior developer.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody has 2 years of 3 years of experience,
3 years
so
of experience.
maximum. So yeah, it's a
Exactly.
good time.
It's a good time to be alive in. I mean, it's good time to be coding in, I would rather say.
Yeah, it is.
So, with that, thanks a lot, Abhishek, for joining us and providing this insightful conversation. And thank you, all our viewers, for joining us on Tech Talks. And if you have found this conversation useful, helpful, please share it around, share it with your team, share it with your friends, uh, and definitely follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and everywhere. And stay tuned for insights from leaders shaping the future of tech. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.